would invite and kick the interactive session, which probably I'm also looking forward, you're also looking forward. So let's jump to the question. And look at them, they're just nodding, yeah, go there. So let's start there. Okay, thank you. Are you going to talk now?
Alishba Khan Barech, hailing from Nushki, with secondary hometown in Quetta. Her standout achievement includes being the only Pakistani from Balochistan to receive a Cambridge University scholarship after being shortlisted in a global essay competition. Alishba, please join us here for the opening questions.
Welcome, Mr. Prime Minister. The students here in this auditorium are among the most privileged students in Pakistan, and against them are millions of marginalized children who don't have access to education. What do you think, against this backdrop, will the government be able to fulfill the aspirations set out in the Pakistan 2025 vision document?
First of all, it's such a delight to see you in such an accomplished position. Well, coming straight to the question that what a government can or can't, let's have an honest conversation over here, because I never believe in a clever conversation. From where do government does the function of the service delivery? It collects its taxes and then it spends it. And the third source of the revenue is that if you don't have that, you're going to borrow it from the third multilateral entity or outside from someone to fill in that gap. So what is our cycle and what is happening with us? We have got a target of almost 21,000 billion rupees receivable tax or achievable, which we project that we should achieve that. And the receivables are around 7,000 billion rupees. So the gap is of almost 14,000 billion rupees. So you are living in a neighborhood where you have got a very tough situation with your security, terrorism, so forth, and few other things. Along with that, you have to develop an infrastructure to kick the economic growth and the rest. And then you have to couple it and provide the primary education, higher education to different socio-economic background of the people. The population is around 240 million people. How do you do that? How can you do that? The tax evasion is almost more than 10,000 billion rupees. And this is, I am talking about the documented economy, which by the way is almost 20%, and rest of the 80% is non-documented. So there is a non-documented economy and there is a documented economy in which you cannot receive taxes. You would definitely leave the question, whose responsibility is this to collect all these taxes? Of course, it's the government and government's related department, which is FPR in this case. We have not done it. This is not in last 3 months that we have not been able to hit that target. It is a consistent story with all kind of big leaders, small leaders, mid-sized leaders, military dictators, civilian dispensation. This is a constant story. And this is the challenge of governance. Instead of historical criticism of different things, if we start having these sort of rational conversations, we would exactly know where we are failing and why we are failing. Whether it is the health services or the educational services, if you want to ensure and spread it out as a nation, as a country, the first and foremost thing is that you develop your taxation system properly. All of us want to live in a Scandinavian ideal world, like the lifestyle in Norway and Denmark and the rest. Their contribution, tax contribution to their GDP is 91%. Ours is 9%. So I want to have a Denmark for contributing 9% as compared to 91. It can remain in my wish list, but I can't have that. It's painful. It's painful. It's slow. Both. So what do you do? As a caretaker, I can proudly say that after many years, we are the one in last quarter, we have achieved our tax target. This is amazing. If we could do it in 3 months, why the rest of the governments can't do? It is for the people like yourself, they need to answer and raise these questions. We did it. It's documented, it's published yesterday that in last quarter we were able to achieve the tax target in the FBR. So if it can be done in 3 months, it means that it is practical, it's possible, and if it is not happening, there is something very seriously wrong with our governance structure. This is my opinion on it.
Two is both the people and the government.
Yeah, of course, government is part of the people. I mean, if I am electing a government, so I'm contributing towards that either resolution or the problem. So I am part of the problem. And when you become in the government, and I have lended that support to you, so it means the two of us have brought it to the tango.
Mr. Prime Minister, why do we always go into frenzy and last-minute coping mechanisms, shut down the schools and do this and that? Why can't we be like Beijing and control this issue? I mean, crop burning is one of the prescriptions, but then there is no law enforcement. You go on the motorway and people are doing it without any fear of repercussions or them being caught. So what do you have to say about that?
I completely agree with you. I mean, the enforcement is one of the challenges, as you have identified yourself in your question. The poor enforcement is part of the problem of the governance in this country. There are laws, they exist, but if he goes and tries to implement and apprehend that man, you would start agitating that his rights are being violated. And there is a group of rights emerge in this country wherever the law enforcement goes for the enforcement. There are occasions on which the law enforcement also are compliant for multiple reasons: financial mismanagement, few others, political influence. They are there. But on the other hand, society also has a tendency to stop enforcement. So we are living in this milieu. Poor development and capacity building of the law enforcement agencies, lack of ethos. I mean, if you go and observe your bureaucracy who has to implement, you will be surprised the kind of a value system probably they personally hold. That is appalling, that is shocking, that is disappointing to say the least. We have a structure of a bureaucracy which does not have a sense of identity. That what was the Ottoman Empire? The Janissaries were the most committed group which ensured the structure of the empire. And those Ottomans were able to expand their good or bad agenda till up till Eastern Europe, primarily because of the Janissaries. If you go and see the structure of any nation state, empire, or anywhere in the documented history, there is a structure of the bureau who takes and furthers and forwards the agenda which is linked to that identity. In our case, it's missing. It is unfortunately missing. You don't know who they are enforcing the laws for, or they themselves are pretty much confused. So there is a structural issue at the level of the enforcement which needs some radical changes, in my opinion. Whether somebody does that or doesn't, you need a civil structure reforms. Until and unless you don't do that, from the burning of the crop up till allowing a vehicle on the motorway which is not fit environmentally, are both part of the challenge. So we need to address that as soon as possible. I don't know whether this policemen agree with it, but this is my opinion.
But then you mentioned radical change. Who will bring it and how? Like, what is the prescription? Will we keep dying? Our lungs are practically collapsing. So what is the prescription?
Radical changes are required. This is all I can say. By whom? Let's find the noun. Let's find the person or persons in the time. They are placed somewhere in the future. If somebody can peek in the future, they will know it.
But I am still pessimistic. I haven't found the answer, Mr. Prime Minister. Give us a noun.
Well, this is my art to evade answers, you know. It's not the art to give all the answers.
Well, Mr. Prime Minister, now coming to some serious questions. You recently banned all the celebrations on New Year's Eve in solidarity with the Palestinians. While it was well intended, Mr. Prime Minister, it raised two questions. A, about law enforcement, and B, about the global image of Pakistan. I mean, for the first one, celebrations still took place in the absence of law. For the global image, I mean, Pakistan, the only Muslim nuclear-powered country, has now gone to a status that when generations are being literally wiped out, this is what we are doing, banning fireworks. What do you have to say about that?
First of all, there was a lot of criticism also, and there was a lot of appreciation behind this decision. So there is a mix of both. There is a section of society which wanted to celebrate the New Year, and down the line, after 100 years, they wanted to be documented as someone on that particular second, 12 o'clock, 1 second, dancing and having festivity and so on and so forth. So they're very, very critical of this decision, and I don't mind of the criticism. Our intention first was to highlight that in the global community, particularly on the Western Hemisphere, that there is a nation of 240 million people who officially has distanced itself from the festivity because of the kind of the genocide which is being committed by this apartheid state of Israel, which is brutal, which has applied a disproportionate force, whose existence is also at question, but they are expressing this brutal, are displaying the force of this brutality in a very with impunity. So what are our options? One, do we go to the war? Yes. I'm an interim Prime Minister. Do you expect me to take the 240 million people to the war? Probably a nuclear war. So you are very quite serious people and raising a very serious question to me. Think about it, have a grand assembly, mull over it. I can't alone take such a big decision. It's huge. It's big. Should we go to war? I mean, in my personal opinion, I'm a very aggressive and a jingoistic person. Maybe I would say yes, but don't listen to me. War has implications. War is not a joke. What we have done, we have exploited the forum of OIC, we have exploited other international forums, we have been engaging with Western diplomats, particularly the US diplomats, Brits, Europeans, and clearly enunciating them, telling them that if such behavior continues, it would be responsible for radicalizing the entire 1.4 billion Muslim population throughout the globe, within West and over here, Middle East, North Africa, anywhere. So we are trying, the immediate objective is that somehow or other we stop this senseless war and create a humanitarian corridor. This is the kind of a message which the military leadership recently took the United States. And we were quite clear in our opposition and our condemnation and our commitment towards Palestinians. Is it wise on this occasion to initiate a war? And who are you, me, and anyone else who feels so passionate about Palestine and its cause? We have not lost a finger in this war, this single finger. There 9,000 children have been killed. Let them decide. There is no need to be heroic over here in this peaceful, cozy environment. And just thinking that, oh, I'm so heroic, that because I stand with the oppressed one. It's very good. It's very good, but they are the one who are suffering, they are the one who are facing. Let's take this question first to them, that whether they are willing to take this war and in which direction. Over here they are calling conferences and seminars and speaking with all their rhetorics. I completely understand. I am more radical than all these so-called people who play on these rhetorics. But I try to control my populist tendency. These are very serious. Is there any idea to all of them that what is the situation of Zionism, what is the link to a Judaic religion, how is Palestine already agreed to the historical, 22% of the Palestine to the historical existence of Palestine already. The whole world is talking on the pre-1967 border line with Al-Quds as its present. But here in Lahore or Islamabad, they are addressing the seminars that no, we don't want to accept this and we will never agree to it. Who are you? Have you identified yourself? Who are you? Are you Palestinians? Are you going to reside there? Are you going to counter the state of Israel? Their wrath, their planes, their bullets are my child. I have one by the one. Am I willing to risk his life for this? Or all these who are addressing these conferences? What are their credentials? Primarily it is their right. We should just support them whatever they say. We should be on their side no matter what. Instead of creating a front against the state of Israel, they have started a front against the current government. Wow, good luck. Great. I get baffled. That what, are you genuinely committed to that cause? Or you just want to abuse me? Go ahead, do it. Am I Netanyahu? And what are the practical suggestions? 1.4 billion Muslims are pondering and thinking about this challenge. I would be only remembered in history for allowing the aerial firing or not, or allowing someone to have a glass of alcohol or not. Let the history judge me. I don't care. I don't care at all. Yes, it was a gesture. The governments, they display small little gestures in the diplomatic communication, so the messages are sent. This message was not for domestic audience, it was more for a global audience. And there was a huge criticism on that account, so let it be.
But sir, the criticism, as you rightly pointed out, there can be some justification for that. Why it's mere ceremonial? We could have done something.
Like?
Why didn't we call out those who are supporting the genocide? They are our allies. Why are we silent and not naming them?
The kind of confrontation we have done with Western diplomats problem is that I am bound by certain laws that I can't make it public. The kind of passionate and full of emotions, and at times, I'll just give you one small example. Few Western diplomats said that Pakistan should have a balanced view of the crisis in the Middle East, as the Israeli children, they have also been killed. So I asked him that, okay, Excellency, can you, in order to address the anger of the Israelis, which according to you also deserves attention, so can you give us a number, how much children do you need to kill so that the Israel anger gets satisfied? 50, 100, 2, 3,000, 2? We just want to have a number. And they were speechless. So of course we do challenge them, confront them, but we cannot make all those things public. For the diplomatic reasons, for the reasons which is known and documented in the statecraft. How do you do statecraft? You don't bring such conversation to the public. And I cannot bring whole of it. I can refer that, well, I had a very strong position vis-a-vis Middle East with diplomats. But I cannot produce it to the public that this is what I have said and these are the sort of replies we have got. No government does that. So why should our government do that?
Mr. Prime Minister, coming to the question of Balochistan, firstly, who could have thought the state would be taken over by two Balochistanis?
No, we have not taken over the state, for God's sake. Yeah, okay, carry on.
So, Mr. Prime Minister, the recent happenings in Islamabad has elicited, I'm speechless. They're my own people. I'm sure you share the same feelings. But the problem is you did condemn and you did call on a meeting and you did form a committee. What do you have to say about the kind of treatment meted out to the protesters, which had large number of women and children? And that brings me to the question as to who will rejuvenate the relationship of Balochistan with the center. I don't see any reconciliation attempts working anytime soon.
Thank you. How many of you are interested to listen to this question's answer? Quite impressive, okay. First of all, whenever there are protesters, the protests and the agitation has to be within the limits of law. Do we all agree on this? That you have got the right to protest, no, you don't agree? Okay, good. But when you agitate, every government has certain laws, even in democracies. In dictatorship, they have got their own rules and laws. But it has to be demonstrated by the law. And if those laws are violated, then the role of the enforcement comes that they try to enforce those laws. So this is the general understanding and a civic sense in which a political environment operates in any country. So is the case in Pakistan. This water cannon, which is more criticized, or slightly probably more than that, there was a lathi charge also. More than 200 instances I can quote from the European Union where they have used these water cannons to curb, control agitation within those countries. So these are the so-called international best practices. First of all, God forbid, there was not the case that we have shot at children or women, or we have gone to extreme positions. They were the basic tactics of law enforcement, water cannon and others. Because they were stone pelting, which was reported to me, so that stone pelting had to be stopped by someone. By whom? The role of the law enforcement was there to stop them. And after that, they made few arrests, which again is according to the law, their inherent and basic right. And when they were taken to the custody, to different police stations, they were released probably within 48 or 72 hours. Some 30 to 34, which were facing the identity parade, they were the prime suspects for the stone pelting. When they went through that, eventually they have been also released. And still all those women, as we speak here in this hall, they are agitating in front of Islamabad Press Club. That basic right of agitation has been recognized and accepted by the state. What are we doing to them? Why are we being portrayed as followers of pharaohs who have just asked them, don't do the stone pelting? What have we done? I would...
तो सिर्फ वक्त इतना ही। देखते रहिए बे न्यूज़, क्योंकि हम हैं कौम की सोच।